the pledge.
Will you join us, folks?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Mason, could we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Bates. Mr. Eden. Mrs. Fryrick.
Here.
Ms. Leopold Sharp.
Here.
Mr. Posnell.
Here.
Mr. Robinson.
Here.
Mrs. Schrader.
Here.
Ms. Schaefer. Here. Mr. Toman.
Here.
Thank you. This is our monthly voting meeting. There are 2 times for public comment. One is now at the beginning of the meeting. We ask if you have any comments to address them to the chair. And generally, we don't answer questions in the course of that. There'll also be an opportunity at the end of the meeting, but there will not be public comment before our votes this evening. Would anyone like to share anything? Hearing nothing, then we'll move ahead. I ask for the board's approval of our minutes of our combined planning and regular monthly meeting of July 17th and our special meeting followed by the planning meeting of August 7th, 2017. Is there any public comment or any corrections or additions from the board? If not, Ms. Mason, would you please file those for audit? Mr. Posnell, the treasurer's report.
Would any board member like any of these items considered separately, or are there any questions about any of these items, A through F? If not, the chair moves approval of the below-mentioned items.
Second. Any questions? A short roll call, Ms. Mason.
Be considered a unanimous roll call vote unless I hear votes to the contrary. Hearing none, motion passes.
That's it for me.
Thank you very much. The board president needs only to report that following our planning meeting on August 7th, 2017, the board met in executive session as permitted by Section 707 of the Sunshine Act for the purpose of discussing personnel matters. No official action was taken. Dr. Merkel, the superintendent's report. Ms. Doctor.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Ms. Leopold Sharp. First, before you, you have the student enrollment report. Do not be deceived, however. Remember, this enrollment report is effective August 1st of this year. And when it comes up, you will see that the total enrollment noted here is 3,042. Today's enrollment is 3,210. So you see what's happened between August 1st and August 21st. Notable difference of almost 200 students in a very short amount of time. We're feeling it. We're experiencing the new student crunch that we experienced 2 years ago. This does not, however, contain all of the withdrawals either. And so you will see notable fluctuation between now and September 1st. There's some areas of, we're full. There are areas where we're full. We have kindergarten through 5th grade is 6 grades and 2 sides of the district. So there's 12 essentially sections, and 6 of them are at or above our guideline. Now they're only above the guideline by a very small amount, but they are at or above guideline, and so we are very full at the elementary. We are 16 higher than we anticipate, or 16 higher at the middle school than we were in May. So we're really pretty much about where we anticipated with middle school. We have our largest jump, however, at the high school, with 62 additional students at the high school than we had in May. Now remember, we graduated a small class and knew that we had a notably larger freshman class. So we were predicting that increase more than we were at the elementary. And so our kindergarten classes are sizable. We added a 6th kindergarten late in the game at Yorkshire. We had held that to 5, and we're glad we did that. Now our class sizes at Yorkshire are a little smaller in kindergarten than they are at Valley View. Our class sizes at Valley View, our average is 19.6 students, and our guideline is 20. So we're teetering there. That's one that I counted on the underside. At Yorkshire, we're at 17.6, so we're safe there. But our first and second grade numbers are high, our third grade numbers are high, and our fifth grade at East York is high. And so we monitor. It's not the point where we say we add a class to that grade level, but we do look at what supports we can and should put in place. It's way too soon to say that. A month out from now, we'll be determining that. All of our settling in will have occurred. But the enrollment report is here for August 1st, but be very careful in how you use that, because it really is not indicative of where we are today. Any questions?
The School of Technology numbers, they look down.
They are down, yes. We fluctuate. I don't have a good answer to the whys this year, but they are down.
Do we pay on what they estimated or what the truth is? I can't remember.
It's actual.
It is actual. They do an estimate, but then they, reallocate and relook at it in October.
'Cause we were allocated like 54 or something was the estimate.
I'd have to
That's
check
all
on
right.
that.
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah, okay.
Okay? All right, second under the superintendent is a review of the district goals, and they are before you. And the district goals were presented and approved by the board last spring. The administrative team worked on them, of course, over the rally in June, and has been working on them since then. The board had asked that I take another look at them, given that we will be short a key administrator through at least the fall semester. And so what I did was take the district goals. The 5 goals are numbered 1 through 5, and then the primary areas that we will be addressing under each of those goals. So taking the action steps that we had intended to focus on and address over the course of the year under each of those goals. Those that are in blue were areas for which our assistant superintendent would take primary responsibility. Those in black are assigned elsewhere. Obviously, the first one, which is a strong focus on academics, is an area where Dr. Maloney would have taken much of the lead. So what I did with each of the action steps or the areas of action steps that are noted in blue was to work with the administrative team, specific individuals, to say, for example, the STEAM initiative is well underway. There's no going back. We can't say, well, never mind, we're short an administrator. So what we've decided with all of the areas in blue is that we're too far down the road to pull back. And so we will forge ahead with these. We may be asking the board for some leniency with regard to seeing some of these into a second year for completion of the action steps. But largely, we're committed to them. We've initiated work toward that end. And so we have confidence that the strength of the team will carry us through. So I promised the board that I'd come back and report out how we'll manage it. I have every confidence in the team that we'll work to that end. If you scroll down a little bit further, Mrs. Irwine, number 5, you'll see lots, okay, and that's not an area. And so there's lots of action steps that were already committed to the leadership of other positions. So anyway, I have confidence. We've put a lot of thought into the district goals, and a lot of work has already begun toward that end, and we're looking forward to coming back in the spring and sharing out our great successes. Are there any questions on district goals? Okay, the opening of school. Now, this is a fun topic. Last Monday, we got together. Actually, most of the professional staff got together, but the administrative team was absent because we were busy out on a bus making our way to the middle school. I hope some of you that weren't able to join us were able to view the video. We did a bus pool karaoke, and so the administrative team rode the bus to the middle school, theoretically, and it was a fun way to kick off what the message that we tried to deliver through opening with teachers and our support staff was teaching from the heart, leading from the heart, supporting from the heart, with the idea that we hire teachers for 2 reasons. We hire them for their head and for their heart. And we have been driven and we've been focused on what we do analytically, in analyzing data, in focusing intently on the transition of our curriculum and all those things that we ask teachers to do with their head. And what we ask them to do is, now that it's just second nature to them now. And so let's focus on what they really love most and teaching from the heart. And so we delivered that message with the staff. It was a real different approach for me. One administrator actually convinced me that it would be okay to have a casual day on opening day, a spirit wear day, and so we wore our orange and black, and it was a much more casual approach. And quite frankly, it was the opening that I got more expressions of appreciation from the staff than ever before. Years ago, we had, when we were in greater financial difficulty than we are now, we reduced the hours of our support staff, and they did not participate in the first 2 days of the professional development. And we brought them back this year for opening, saying that we're all a part of this and we all have to work together, and that was very well received as well. So the support staff was there, grateful, but the teachers gave an ovation to the support staff. That was very moving and was very supportive. It showed tremendous support for our support staff, and they felt it. And so there were some key things that happened that on the surface not everybody would necessarily recognize how important they were. We had a punt because we didn't have the high school available to us because the auditorium stage is still being worked on. So we had to go to the middle school. And stubborn Shelley keeps saying, yeah, we can all fit in that cafeteria, we can all fit in that cafeteria, and we couldn't all fit in that cafeteria. And so when I realized it, we're already down the road with our bus pool karaoke, so we've got to do a grand entrance where everybody can be. So we started a little differently, met in the auditorium, and then moved to the gym because we couldn't even fit in the cafeteria standing room only for refreshments. So we moved to the gym for refreshments and some social time with one another, and then we split off into 3 groups so that our support staff got some specialized training. Dr. Ketterman led that initiative, and then the professional staff went to the cafeteria, and instead of the usual stand and deliver a series of opening day remarks, we delivered some of that content in a newsletter to them so they could read it on their time, but we did an interactive 45 minutes to an hour with them, focusing on student needs, the diversity within the district, how do we build relationships with students. And again, that was well received. And so then from there, all groups went to their respective buildings, and every principal just hit a home run. The feedback on what the principals did from that point for the next day and a half was just phenomenal. Teachers had some work time to prep their rooms and their lesson plans and so forth, but the time that they had together in preparation and under the leadership of the principals was really outstanding. So it was 2 really great days. Morale was high. Students come in Wednesday morning. Students K to 9 come in on Wednesday morning, and new students. And then the entire K to 12 came in on Thursday. Again, morale was high. Watching the Link crew greet our high school students, our high school freshmen, is an experience that's just fantastic. There's so much enthusiasm and energy. Our freshmen felt really great. Watching them get on the bus at the end of the day was just a real highlight because they were so energized. Watching our kindergarten students at the end of the day, we had a few fall asleep on the first day of school and the second day of school, but we also built in time for that. So full day kindergarten went off without a hitch. I'd like to tell you everything was perfect and smooth, but like opening every year, we certainly have transportation concerns till those bus routes get worked out. This year was like that again, and while we started with a new bus company, the difference this year was that when we called with concerns, we were met with great response and great support to work them through. We still have things to work through, but it's going very well. Another not so positive on the opening side is that we're still enrolling new students. I gave you that number, but it's not just new students. We have the guardianship residency issues that I've shared with the board. We worked intently to clean those up. Brooke's office has had enough calls from me in the last 2 weeks to make sure that we're following the law. I think I've spoken with 8 or 10 different lawyers across York County, but we have been successful in ensuring that our guardianship and residency is cleaned up. I don't have numbers for you yet, but we'll get that report to you within the month. All in all, it was a fantastic opening, and it seems to just get better every day, because today was a really cool, exciting day with the Eclipse project, and it was just neat to see the students engaged. You saw a picture at the start of the meeting with our youngsters involved. There were some folks who got some cold feet in the last week and said, as our colleagues around the state, some are closing schools, some are canceling practices, and here we are taking the students out. Fortunately, we had NASA-approved glasses for every student. Our kindergarten students did stay in, but our youngest learners loved it. Our high school students were almost giddy. I walked into the science wing this afternoon, and the kids were yelling, "I can't wait, I can't wait," and it was like almost, it was unusual. Let me just say that. And so to watch them come outside and truly stand there and engage with the Eclipse was pretty awesome. So Channel 27 did come and film, and there was a really pretty good piece on it on the 6 o'clock news. If you don't see it at 11, you could probably find it online. But it's worth seeing. It really did. It featured Steve Whiteley. Our teachers, our science teacher leaders, were Leslie Gensel, our high school department chair, and Jamie McFadden, our middle school department chair. And then we had Jess Barley and Sonia Geyer at the intermediate levels, and Cheryl Johnson and Amy Schnetzka at the primary levels. And their leadership got their colleagues on board, and it just was, it was a great experience. It was pretty cool to see that our kids had the chance to be out there. Our thought process with regard to sending them home or keeping them inside is you don't get to see these things very often. And the coolest part of the Eclipse, it was all done in orange and black. Anyway, that concludes my comments on opening day unless you have, or on opening of school unless you have questions. Okay, as per Board Policy 915, the administration recommends that the York Suburban School Board sanction the following organizations for the 2017-18 school year, and they are listed there before you. We work with the organizations to ensure their obligations are met. We met with many of the organizations prior to the opening of school. The leaders of the officers of the organization were real excited for another opening, and very positive and supportive of the program. So we had at least one representative from each of the organizations attend that meeting so they fully understand what's expected.
We can have a short roll call on that, Ms.
I need a motion
So
first.
moved. I was wondering whether that was a motion or not.
Now could we have a short roll call, Ms. Mason?
This will be considered a unanimous roll call vote unless I hear votes to the contrary. Hearing none, motion passes.
That concludes my report. Thank you.
Ms. Mason, Business Office Report.
Thank you. Letter A, the administration recommends board approval of the 2017-18 bus routes and bus van drivers.
Second.
Any questions for Ms. Mason? We can have a short roll call for that.
This will be considered a unanimous roll call vote unless I hear votes to the contrary. Hearing none, motion passes. Letters B, C, and F take together its approval of contracts for various activities, unless anybody has any questions or objections.
So moved.
We can do a short roll call on that as well.
Be considered a unanimous roll call vote unless I hear votes to the contrary. Hearing none, motion passes. Letters D and E are agreements with executive coach for class trips.
So moved. Second.
Any questions? We may do short roll call for that.
This will be considered a unanimous roll call vote unless I hear votes to the contrary. Hearing none, motion passes. Two informational items, the donation in the amount of $1,334.61 from Valley View PTO for the various field trips in May. And the second item, the Eagle Scout project, this was, comes off of the facilities, committee agenda. The Eagle Scout is looking to, clean up, if you will, the shed at Valley View, paint the outside, repair some of the roof that's, tore out a little bit, and, for lack of a better word, put some shelving in and do some repainting. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Ms. Atkinson, the student board rep report.
All right, so I'm going to backtrack to last Wednesday, which was the first day of school. Speaking for Freshman Orientation Day, we had the largest class for freshman orientation that we've ever had in suburban history. So Link Crew had 31 groups with 8 to 10 freshmen in them, and they also had a VIP, very important people group for transfer and exchange students. And the freshmen were they were really excited and engaged and cooperative with all of our cheesy icebreaker and kind of get-to-know-you activities. So it was really cool to see that, because it's always kind of up in the air with how they're going to be with that. During lunch that day, we had an activity fair, and about 15 to 20 clubs from the high school sat around the perimeter of the cafeteria. Freshmen got to walk around and sign up for ones that they were interested in, and it was really encouraging. We were encouraging them to find something that they really liked. I have a lot of clubs that I'm involved in the high school, and that kind of got me involved with a lot of different people that I wouldn't normally meet, and it's a really cool way to get yourself involved with the school in a different way. So I encouraged all of my freshmen to do that, and it was cool to watch. The first day for all students on Thursday went really well. There were a lot of class meetings. The school day was honestly a little boring with syllabus review, and school pictures were on Fridays, so it's just kind of getting back into the school year and swing of things. I was trying to listen a lot for complaints, because last year we had a big problem with the new phone rules. But honestly, this year I didn't hear a lot of complaints, nothing major. There was a small backlash over the new leggings policy, but it is what it is. So it honestly went pretty smooth. So I can't speak for any other schools, but there's a lot of construction going on in the high school even as school started. All of the windows were out of the doors and the side of the doors, and people would like stick their hands in and try and open the doors after they came to the bathroom, so it was kind of fun. But they finished all of that over the weekend, so fully secure now. We're all good. Yeah. There's new furniture in the lobby that they kept as a complete surprise from all students. Seniors are allowed to use it during study halls and lunch, and anybody can use it after school. There's a really great response from the student population. People are really appreciative of it, and it just gives them a new area to do their work and kind of relax a little bit. Student Council is having their first fundraiser for Minithon. It's going to be our movie night. It's this Friday. The ticket prices are $5 for adults and $2 for students. We're going to be playing Moana. We have yard games, lots of food, and flyers are being shared around all of the schools, so anybody around the community, and especially in elementary schools, are highly encouraged to come. If I didn't say already, I forget. Doors open at 7, and the movie starts around 8, around dusk. As Dr. Merkel talked about, they had a carpool karaoke for the administration. I believe that the first one with Dr. Krauser, Ms. Fazick, and Dr. Rodenberg, they had one for the middle school, and was to get students excited for the new school year, and there was a lot of great feedback from parents and students who really enjoyed this. This week at middle and elementary schools, there was a lot of excitement. I would say a little bit more from the high school, just my guess. But they had a lot of cool activities, and a lot of them were STEM-based, which I thought was really interesting, kind of a different way of doing things. Oh my gosh, I keep moving it, sorry. And so the elementary schools will also be having their back-to-school nights and meet the teacher nights this week. So that's happening. And this Thursday, any fourth grader who's interested in playing an instrument can come to the high school cafeteria at 6:30. And high schoolers are going to be playing their instruments so that they can get a better sense of what instrument they might want to play. And this is to hopefully boost numbers for the future. I think it's Mr. Posenau, you were asking about numbers 2 weeks ago, and we have 39 marchers, 5 in pit, and 13 color guard, which is a total of 57 participants. It's definitely lower than previous years, but we did have 20 graduate last year, so we can't quite fulfill those numbers yet, but we're optimistic for the future. And obviously today was the solar eclipse. All students got to go out and watch it in some capacity, and we had classes for everyone, and it was super exciting. I loved it. And everybody was given instruction last week on what it was, and so they could have some education on it beforehand. And that is my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Atkinson?
I'm just thinking how Dr. Furman must miss the whole high school dress code thing.
It never ends.
I appreciate how you look at Dr. Furman.
They're wearing this today.
No bitterness there.
Anything else? Let's move on to committee reports. Mrs. Schaefer.
Nothing really much to add. I always appreciate following the student board rep because they usually cover just about everything that I could anticipate or have to say. So just that the activity and the communication reports are provided. There obviously is some additional information there from what was reported out, but she covered most of the exciting things, so that's it.
Thank you. Mrs. Fryrick, the Facilities Committee report.
Yes, just the one item that's on here, the minutes of the June 14th meeting are provided for you, and we will begin at our next meeting, hopefully, working on next year's list of projects off of the capital list of projects. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. And I've asked, in Ms. Bates' absence, Mrs. Schaefer to do the Personnel Committee report.
You have before you the personnel report, which includes appointment, employment, granting of professional tenure, substitute teachers, guest teachers, volunteer fall coaches, and volunteers. Would any board member like any items considered separately? Are there any questions on any of the items? Ellen, you had a question?
I just have a question, yeah, between Section 4, which is the grid of substitute teachers, and Item 6, recommended the employment of the following substitute teachers. Is there something I'm missing? Are they different types of substitutes, or?
They're the same types of substitutes. The 17, 18, number 4, and number 5 are the annual appointments of substitutes who've been with us. Items 6 and 7 are the employment. They are new hires.
They are totally new.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, then I would move approval of the below-mentioned items.
Second.
Ms. Bates, Ms. Mason, we can do a short roll call for that as well.
This will be considered a unanimous roll call vote unless I hear votes to the contrary. Hearing none, motion passes.
Okay, that concludes the personnel report.
I'd
Dr.
like to make
Merkel.
2 comments, if I may. Number 1 is thank you in very timely fashion for hiring Barbie Baccaro. Mrs. Hall delivered a healthy baby girl yesterday, so just actually Saturday, so just in the nick of time. And Mr. Dalton is here. Dr. Adams, if you would like to introduce our new coach.
Oops, stand up here. We just always like to bring our head varsity coaches before the board and thank you for supporting the athletic programs. And we're really excited to have Coach Dalton, Larry Dalton, on board as our new head varsity girls softball coach. He's been with the program now for a while as either a JV or / varsity assistant. He's just rolling in right now because we're fortunate to have him as our head junior high football coach as well. So we kind of have him doing double duty. I told him today, I said, okay, come from practice, we'll get you right in here, and then we'll get you back out. But I definitely wanted you to have an opportunity to see him. The nice thing about Coach Dalton is that he's in our community. He's coached the girls even at the younger level. He has contacts at the lower levels because you'll recognize over the past couple of years we really haven't had a JV team. We've played a couple games here and there, so our numbers are down. And we're hopeful with his contacts and knowing the parents and I know his personality, so I know that's going to fit real well with the girls. We're hopeful that he's going to be able to build that softball program back up for us. So just wanted to welcome Coach Dalton.
We also talked about our opening was focused on teaching from the heart and supporting from the heart, and Coach Dalton's one who coaches from the heart without a doubt. And I can speak to that from personal experience, despite the fact that he picked on my son incessantly and continues to. But he's a man that the students look up to, respect, but also relate very well to. So he's a relationship coach who just does an outstanding job for us. So the idea of a head coaching job for you. Thank you, Coach Dalton.
Thank you all for
And we appreciate the fact that you wore the softball jersey and not the football jersey.
There we go, got the right sport.
Quick change artist,
Yeah.
huh?
Thank you all.
Okay, welcome. All right, moving ahead, Mr. Toman, Policy Review Committee.
Policy Review Committee moves to approve the following long list of policy revisions or reapprovals.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion for Mr. Toman? Mrs. Farmer?
I kind of started this at the, planning meeting, wasn't sure where it was. It deals with, number 210.1, possession, use of asthma inhalers. And I went back and I looked at that policy, and the part that I was referring to that gave me a little bit of pause was that, you have to have all these approvals from your doctor, guardians and everything. It says, they'll demonstrate to the school nurse competency for self-administration, responsible behavior in use of the medication, and determination of what determinants they use. And I'm just wondering if the school nurse says, no, you can't do this, and the doctor has said you can, who's...
Well, we haven't been in that position.
Just
The use of an EpiPen is so simplistic.
It is. I get that.
But it is the nurse's responsibility to verify that the student knows that. And so we have not encountered that. What I would expect the nurse to do would be to contact the doctor, and if there were any concern to that end.
And then 2 paragraphs later, it says if the district denies the student's request to carry these EpiPens or what have you, that they would be stored at a location in close proximity to the student, which at the high school could be almost impossible. I would assume they'd be in the nurse's office, and kids could be anywhere in that building or out on the field.
I wouldn't assume they'd be in the nurse's office. I think we'd take a look at the specialized circumstances of the student and their schedule. Training room comes to mind, front office comes to mind, or multiple locations for a student.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? You okay, Mr. Toman? Ms. Mason, we can vote on that on a short roll call.
This will be considered a unanimous roll call vote unless I hear votes to the contrary. Hearing none, motion passes.
Thank you. Are there other committee chairs who wish to report?
It's not actually out of committee, but we did discuss it at committee. We wanted to thank Barry Gerling, Wayne and Gerdo, the regular maintenance and staff, and as well as the summer staff for the outstanding job that they did in the district this summer. It was a very full summer. There was a lot to be done, not just the obvious projects, but a lot of other things that were going on. So we would like them to know that we fully appreciate all of their efforts.
Thank you very much. Anything from the LIU? And since Mr. Robertson is no longer representing us, I think the board should periodically be in touch with Dr. Merkel if you would like the Dallastown representatives to come for any reason, maybe at budget time. Let Dr. Merkel know, and she'll follow up with them. Mrs. Farr, anything from York Adams Academy?
Yes, they had a successful opening of school last week. Things are going extremely well with our new director, Chris Foltz. And I'm pleased to report that York Suburban takes 12 seats a year, and we have 12 students enrolled at this time, with one who has passed the preliminary testing and is waiting to enroll. That completes my report.
Thank you. Ms. Mason, anything from the York Adams Tax Bureau?
No report.
Mrs. Schrader, York County School of Technology?
Have a meeting this week. I'll get the lowdown on the start of school and all at that time.
Thank you. I don't see too many visitors here. One gentleman who will be sitting at the other side of the table come a few months. The board and committee meeting schedule is here, and I apologize, I had not checked the link. Ms. Irwine, we decided to leave the committees. They're crossed out, the ones we don't anticipate having, but because they have been advertised, if there were a need, they can still be held. Is that correct, Dr. Merkel?
Yes.
So actually, I don't see anything crossed out.
You see communications crossed out on August 29th.
You're right, that's the only one
We intend to hold facilities and finance, as I understand,
Okay.
from Mrs. Mason, and we have not addressed the academic standards and curriculum committee as of yet.
And you've left October 17th communication on as well for now.
We left everything on beyond. We're doing these kind of one at a time to see how the board responds in meeting. If you're feeling the need for a meeting, then we'll proceed.
Fine, thank you. This is the other time in the meeting when the public is welcome to comment. If you have anything you wish to say, please feel free to step up to the mic, introduce yourself by name and address. and address the board? Gentlemen? No? Administrators? Hearing nothing, then I will adjourn the meeting. We are scheduled to have an executive session. I would say let's reconvene at 15:45. That's about 7 minutes.